Chapter 543 to 544. Don't look at me like that. Even I have no confidence of winning against the current Nagato. No, it's better to say that winning against the current Nagato is almost impossible, muttered Yama inwardly as he felt everyone's expectant gazes upon him. Of course, he just muttered this to himself and did not say it out loud. But even if he did not say it out loud, this does not mean Yama is not clear about his own situation. On the surface, he, as the leader of Amatsukami, seemed to be extremely calm and indifferent when facing Nagato, giving everyone a sense of oppression and reassurance. But only Yama knows that that's not the case at all. Yama is quite clear about the situation, and if it is up to him, he really doesn't want to fight. Just standing in front of Nagato, Yama can feel the difference in their strength. Even the difference in their visual prowess is already obvious. What's more, Yama has also sealed a part of his Tenseigan visual prowess inside Yui using the transcription seal. At the same time, Rumyaku Toyotomaheim is also not with him, but is with the shadow clone in the village. So Yama is obviously not at his peak state here, and can't go all out. In such a state, if he were to still make any move, neither will he be able to kill Nagato, nor will he be able to seriously injure him, as a result of which, even the deterrence effect against Nagato will be gone. To be perfectly honest, if it weren't for the fact that Gado Mazo was sucking out the Bijou chakra out of Yagura and Killer Bee, Yama didn't even want to stay here for a single extra second. But no way, he has no other option. The Akatsuki organization captured the Jinchuriki of Nibi a few months back during the War of the Best at Amagakure, which means that they already have Nibi under their control. If they are now allowed to capture Sanbi and Hachibi as well, then it probably wouldn't even take them a month to capture the other Bijou as well. And if this were to happen, then the next thing Yama would end up facing would either be Jubi running amok around the shinobi world under Nagato's control, destroying any nation who opposes them as a result, maintaining a fragile nuclear peace or Shinju under Obita Madara or Kaguya's control where all living beings would be hung on to the Shinju. Either way, the situation progressed, and it wouldn't be conducive to Yama's ultimate goals. As a result, he has no other option but to stop Nagato, or at least delay Nagato and Akatsuki from collecting the 9 Bijou. So, despite being in a disadvantageous situation, Yama has to make his stand here as a deterrence against the Akatsuki. Moreover, he can't just remain standing quietly, else Nagato and Obito would become clear about Yama's disadvantageous situation, and who knows what they would then. So gritting his teeth, Yama stepped forward and said in a regrettable tone, "It seems I shouldn't have allowed you to escape last time." The moment Yama took a step forward, Nagato's nerves tightened, but he calmed himself and said in a cold tone, "Maybe your mistake this time wouldn't be the same as the last time. The current me is different from before, are you now?" muttered Yama, then tilted his head to the side and asked disdainfully, "How different are you? Have you grown more arrogant? Or have you completely lost yourself to power? But even then, what about it? What difference does it make?" Nagato's face became grim. "You can find out for yourself." This time the result would be completely opposite. As soon as Nagato said so, Yama became silent. The words Yama said just now were actually just a small temptation to figure out Nagato's attitude and confidence. Yama speculated that since Nagato is currently absorbing to Bijou from their respective Jinchuriki at the same time, so he shouldn't be too confident, as doing so should be a little burdensome for him. But from Nagato's attitude, it seems that he is really eager to fight him. Moreover, Yama's tentative words that expressed his own self-righteousness and disdain towards him really angered Nagato. So, Nagato is more eager to defeat Yama. Of course, Nagato's uncharacteristic response surprised Konan and Madara. They know Nagato for being a cold and indifferent person, and didn't expect that just a few taunting words from Yama would make Nagato lose his cool. Seeing that Nagato has lost his cool and was about to recklessly make an attack against Yama, Madara stopped him. "Nagato, don't be impulsive." Madara's act of stopping him made Nagato frown. He looked at Madara with a questioning gaze and asked, "What are you doing?" Madara shook his head slightly and whispered lightly, "Don't act rashly. Our Musukamis, Fujin, Hamusubi, and Suijin should still be hidden nearby, waiting for the perfect opportunity to take action against us. Tonight's main objective was to destroy Konoha, defeat the Gokage, and capture our target. We have accomplished almost all of them. We aren't yet ready to start an all-out war against the Amatsukami, so it's best if we retreat here." Madara's words calmed Nagato's face, condensed, especially at the mention of Fujin. Nagato is quite clear about Fujin's strength. After all, Fujin is strong enough to not only defeat Haruko, but also threaten the existence of Tendo Pain, which is really outrageous. Therefore, Nagato had to really think about what Madara said and consider it again. When Konan heard Madara, she was slightly puzzled and asked, "How can Homusubi be hidden? Isn't Homusubi standing in front of us?" Faced with Konan's question, Obito's face under the ripple-patterned Tomo mask was quite uncomfortable, and replied with a bitter expression, "It appears that there are two individuals in Amatsukami with the same Homusubi codename, and both of them have awakened the Mangekyu Sharingan. The one standing before is different. I am talking about the female. Homusubi, she should still be hidden somewhere. Shinobi are capable of disguising everything, including their body structure, appearance, age, voice, and even gender. However, the color of Susanoo, which is the manifestation of one's chakra, dominated by mental energy, cannot be disguised by any means. The color of one's Susanoo upon the awakening of Mangekyu Sharingan will be fixed and not change under any circumstances." Madara clearly remembers that the color of Homusubi's Susanoo at the time she fought against him at Kirigokya was golden. But the Susanoo of Homusubi who sneaked attacked and almost sealed him inside the sword of Totsuka, and currently standing in front of them, is crimson red. Although Madara considered the possibility of this change in Susanoo's color as a result of acquiring Sword of Totsuka. Upon rethinking it deeply and consulting it with Zetsu, Madara denied this possibility. Since the color of Susanoo cannot be changed, so the only possibility that remains is that these are two different people. So, Madara inferred that perhaps Amatsukami has two Uchiha clansmen, who have awakened the Mangekyu Sharingan, one male and one female. Although such a fact is hard to accept even for Madara, and he can't figure out why would Uchiha clansmen, who have awakened Mangekyu Sharingan, chose to betray their clan and join the Amatsukami organization. The facts are right in front of him. So no matter how much he wants to deny it, he still has to accept such a reality. Therefore, although uncomfortable mentioning it, Madara still reminded Nagato about this information. "To Homusubi, are you sure, Madara?" Konan's face grew more worried after hearing this information from Madara. Madara nodded and continued to persuade Nagato, "This is not all. The Homusubi standing in front of us holds a spiritual artifact called Sword of Totsuka. It's an ethereal weapon with an enchanted blade capable of sealing its targets. Those who are stabbed by this sword are drawn into the jar and trapped in a Genjutsu-like world of drunken dreams for all eternity. Even I was almost sealed inside the Sword of Totsuka not long ago and barely managed to escape using a secret uchiha jutsu and my vast experience. But there's no telling if that method would work again. Therefore, when fighting against Amatsukami, we would have to be cautious of Homusubi too. So, it's best that we don't act rashly and withdraw now that we have completed our objective. Now is not the time to start a full-scale war against Amatsukami. Moreover, we are not yet ready for such an all-out war. After hearing this piece of intelligence of Homusubi from Madara, Konan felt that Amatsukami was more dangerous, and she too stepped forward to persuade Nagato. Nagato, please don't. You are currently absorbing to Beju inside Gado, Mazo, and even if you say that it's not too burdensome, it will still hold you back if you fight against Yama. So it's best that we don't actively seek conflict with Amatsukami. We should retreat with Sanbi and Hachibi in our hands. If we retreat now, we will have 3 Biju in our hands, and then we can passively continue to collect the remaining 6 Biju one by one using various means and planning. After all, Amatsukami, or more specifically, Yama, can't always come to the rescue of the 5 great shinobi villagers, right? In this manner, sooner or later we will be able to collect all the 9 Biju, and after we have all the 9 Biju and revive Jubi, then whether it is Yama, Amatsukami, or the 5 great nations, none of them would be able to threaten us. Listening to the reasoning of Konan and Madara, the cold and indifferent Nagato fell into a deep, thoughtful look. On Yama's side, as he saw Madara and Konan trying to stop Nagato with sensible reasoning that sounded plausible enough, he can't help but breathe a sigh of relief and really hoped that Madara and Konan can persuade Nagato to retreat this time, so that Yama doesn't really have to fight it out with Nagato to the end. But it's a pity that even if what Madara and Konan said was perfectly reasonable, they still failed to persuade Nagato. After Madara told Nagato the intelligence about the abilities of Homusubi present in front of them, as well as the possibility of the other members of Amatsukami, including the second Homusubi, Fujin, as well as Suijin, who might still be hiding nearby and waiting for the perfect opportunity to make a sneak attack on them, although a solemn and vigilant expression appeared on Nagato's face as he looked at Yama and Homusubi. However, there were still no signs or intentions of backing down from this fight. It can clearly be said that even the persuasion of Madara and Konan did not shake Nagato's confidence in being able to win against Yama. In fact, Madara himself really couldn't figure out why exactly was Nagato so eager to fight Yama, despite their passive situation considering the current circumstances, and looked at him with a thoughtful expression. Is it possible that Nagato has awakened something that would give him unrivaled confidence? Looking at eager Nagato, Madara felt that perhaps his guess is indeed correct, and thought to himself with a resolute expression, if it is as I guessed, then I need to at least know what exactly has Nagato awakened, so as to be able to prepare corresponding countermeasures against that something too. And while Madara was trying to figure out what that something is and thinking up countermeasures against that something, the unaware Nagato looked at Yama with war intentions. If it was Nagato from before, he might have really agreed with Madara and Konan and immediately retreated just after capturing Sanbi and Hashibi's. This is because, even if has the rinnegan, reputed to be the most exalted eye amongst the 3 great Degutsu, the eyes of Rakuto Sennin himself, not only helped him in learning the basics of the yin-yang release, but also allowed him to blur the boundary of life and death to a certain extent. Nagato never truly forgot that rinnegan is not only his greatest weapon that can crush all his enemies, it is also his greatest restriction that can crush him too. Although he has had the rinnegan ever since the death of his parents and awakened it following his friend Yahiko's sacrifice. However, because his yang chakra has never been strong enough, Nagato was never able to display the true potential of these eyes of the gods. And perhaps it was because of the psychological resistance of power that is too strong, or maybe fear of losing himself to this exhilarating rush of power. Nagato himself never dared to explore the true potential of these eyes of the gods. But this all changed after the War of the Best at Amagakure. Because of his serious injuries, Nagato had no choice but to follow Madara and Zetsu's advice and transplanted Hashirama cells. After the successful transplantation of Hashirama cells, the yang characteristic in Nagato's body underwent both qualitative and quantitative improvement, because of which the yang-yang balance in his body stabilized and entered a harmonized state. Overall, it not only strengthened his basic strength, giving him a better and stronger sage physique, quite similar to Senju Hashirama himself, but also presented him with the opportunity to explore and bring out the true potential of these eyes of the gods. At the same time, because of the existence of Yama that threatened him and his goals, Nagato neither had any more psychological resistance to power that is too strong, nor did he care about losing himself to power. In fact, he needed to be so strong that all his enemies became helpless in front of him. So, Nagato actively decided to use this presented opportunity and started to explore the true potential of these eyes of the gods. As a result, not only did his mastery over yin-yang release improve, but his understanding of the rinnegan and its various techniques also reached a whole new realm. Among these, the best thing that happened is that he was able to master several new rinnegan jutsu, new jutsu, and powerful rinnegan jutsu that have always been present there. But he was neither aware of them nor was he able to master them up until some time ago. And now that he has mastered these new rinnegan jutsus, Nagato is confident to be able to defeat Yama while still remaining unscathed. Therefore, Nagato looked eager to fight against Yama. His intentions were clearly perceivable from the faint yet heart-palpating chakra fluctuations that covered the entire battlefield. Perceiving Nagato's intentions, Yama's expression shrank, and he can't help but scream inwardly, "Damn it, Nagato, just retreat already, will you? Why do you want to fight against me so much? What good will come from our fight?" Of course, these thoughts of Yama were only known to him and nobody else on the battlefield. For Yama, who has the Tenseigan, perceiving that the opponent's strength is higher than his is not that difficult of a task. In fact, he can do so without even the need to rely on the Tenseigan, and because he knows the difference in their strength, so he also knows that winning this battle is not possible for him. This is exactly why he doesn't want to fight against Nagato at this time. After all, even their last battle at Amagakure wasn't a definitive win for Yama, and resulted in somewhat of a draw, or perhaps in mutual defeat, where Yama wounded the enemy by 1,000 points and suffered 800 points of injury himself. If it weren't for his excellent bluffing skills that not only fooled Nagato, Madara, and Zetsu, but also the other people present on the battlefield at that time, the end result of the War of the Best at Amagakure might have been something completely different. In fact, it might even be hard to say which side would be the first one to retreat from the battlefield. Of course, Yama also understands that even if he has excellent acting skills, he can't always bluff his way out, but Yama had still hoped to delay this at a later date. But it appears that that's not a possibility anymore, as Nagato is really determined to fight this time. Although a little doubtful, Yama also considered the possibility that one of the reasons for such an ardent determination of Nagato is that Nagato, who has the rinnegan, might have also seen through the difference in their respective strength. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so ardent. Damn it, damn it, damn it. If only I had managed to combine my Sennin mode with my Tenseigan chakra mode. If I had managed to do that, then I would have had the strength to defeat Nagato. But unfortunately, I am unable to do so at this stage, thought Yama with a regrettable expression. But there is no medicine for regret in this world, so although helpless, Yama can only sigh and think of some other method that he can use to defeat Nagato. And while Yama started to ponder over all his options, Itachi, who was disguised as Homusubi, felt something wrong with the situation, and immediately a worried expression appeared on his face. Although Homusubi has very high confidence in Yama, he can't help but get worried because of the what-if possibility. After all, the chakra fluctuations emitting from the leader of the Akatsuki organization are really heart-palpating and even made him, an extremely calm-hearted individual, feel frightened to the core. Homusubi never thought that a shinobi could be so strong. Such a level of unfathomable strength reminds him of the legendary tales of the god of shinobi, Senju Hashirama, and Homusubi is not certain whether Yama can defeat such an enemy. Therefore, he can't help but feel uneasy. Shisui's forehead and back were also covered with cold sweat, because he, too, realizes the danger of Nagato. Shisui is different from the others in regards to the fact that his Nekomata Sennin mode gives him unusually high perception. Therefore, he has a better understanding of the depths of Nagato's strength. At the same time, because of being able to sense natural energy, Shisui is also able to sense and feel the life energy exuded from the Godot statue standing behind Nagato. Such a thing being in the hands of someone like Nagato is really synonymous with destruction for the entire shinobi world, so he can't help but feel uneasy too. And while Homusubi and Shisui were feeling uneasy, the gaze of everyone else jumped back and forth between Yama and Nagato. Influenced by the oppressive and gloomy atmosphere, others started to lose their judgment and slowly started to get anxious. Of course, unlike others, Sandaime Hokage was not so confused. After all, he is different from everyone else, as he has personally experienced all kinds of events in the shinobi world. Sarutobi Hiruson has not only presided over the situation of the shinobi world over several decades, but has also witnessed the peak strength of Senju Hashirama and Uchiha, those jutsus that could travel all the way to the other shore. And those cloud-towering and earth-splitting moves are not something he can ever forget in his life. Standing here, Sarutobi Hirusen saw that the leader of the Akatsuki organization, although has a solemn and vigilant expression, is determined to fight it out with Yama, while the leader of the Amatsukami organization, although appears to be calm and confident, however, is hesitant and does not seem to want to confront Nagato. For some reason, this observation of his made him understand that the situation might be even more passive for their side than he had initially judged, which only increased his worry and guilt. At the same time, Jiraiya also stared at the opposite Nagato with a dazed expression. Although the appearance of Nagato standing on the other side is similar to the Nagato in his impression. However, Nagato in his impression was a confused and troubled child who wanted to protect Yahiko and Konan, sought peace more than anything, wanted to find a way to get rid of the cycle of hatred, and also had the power to believe in that possibility. But the Nagato currently standing in front of him is completely indifferent towards such things, and Jiraiya has no one but himself to blame. For such a change in Nagato, had Jiraiya stayed in Amagakure and not left the three young kids to their own devices, perhaps the result might have been something different. And the worst thing about all this is that he doesn't even have the power to stop Nagato's actions. So there is another round of guilt and self-blame. But there is no crying over the spilt milk, so blame himself all he can, it would change nothing.